All right, so PayPal has done something pretty big today, and that is launching a stablecoin. And what this might be in terms of impact on the crypto industry, but more importantly, is the overall markets and maybe how crypto is going to play out here, because ETH, of course, is playing a big role in this. We're going to break all that down for you today. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. Getting into a couple of things here, I want to go over, before we get into this, by the way, I just want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are looking at doing any kind of long-term holding, including Ethereum, you can do it over on iTrust Capital. They have a whole array of different tokens, as you can kind of see as I'm scanning across. There's Avalanche, Axie Infinity, even BAT, the basic attention token. You can do all this right there within it, and you get to self-direct your own trading. You pay a small fee for that, but there's no monthly fee to get in and do and launch an IRA. And of course, the cool thing is there's great tax advantages. You guys know that. Make sure and check with your CPA. But if you want to start, all you have to do is click the link down below and use our link. It will give you a $100 funding reward, and it's very easy to do. So check it out. I want to open up with a clip, and the clip we're going to talk about today to kind of start is just PayPal and the stablecoin move that they are making. Listen in. All right, so this, as you can see, is a pretty significant development with PayPal obviously coming in with a stablecoin and all of this running on ETH. If you look at their release here, PayPal launches US dollar stablecoin. It's fully backed by US dollar deposits, short-term US treasuries, and similar cash equivalents. So typical of what things like USDC and even Tether to a certain extent. If you look at some of the details within this, this is pretty, I think, a pretty significant situation that's brewing right here. Only stablecoins supported within the PayPal network. That's going to be a big deal. This is an ERC20 token, so it's issued on ETH. This is also going to be available already into a very large and growing community, obviously, of current developers, wallets, Web3 applications, etc. PayPal, remember, is a massive, massive ecosystem out there. Most of the current volume of stablecoins is used right now in Web3 specific environments. We know that. PayPal will be used to complete the compatible ecosystem from day one, and soon will be available on Venmo because they're going to be bringing that in as well. It is issued by Paxos, which is the trust company. I'll break down what Paxos uses also of how they're doing it, because there are some benefits to that might be interesting for you guys. Paxos is going to publish a public monthly reserve report for the PayPal USD. So good stuff overall. I think the fact that they're moving in this direction, first of all, I think is a good thing. If you look at Paxos's website, there's two types of formats you can use here. One is the money transmitter license, which you've heard us talk about quite a bit here on the show before. But the trust charter is pretty significant because it does do some things that the money transmitter license does not. Two of the things I like is that third and fourth one, which is holds all client assets bankruptcy remote by law. That's an important scenario, and also can't use customer funds to facilitate other business. So again, these are secure. This will be a good move. The question is obviously with PayPal is how much adoption do you think we're going to see in terms of people starting to use PayPal as a stablecoin for use case. The other thing that will play into this, and I don't know if you guys have a PayPal account, let me know if you have seen this transact in your own account, and that is, are they going to be able to pay yield against those reserves that you're holding in there in a PayPal stablecoin? Much like if you hold USDC over on Coinbase or other places where you can get a reserve paid or a yield paid to you for that. I think that will be one of the big triggers that will keep money going out of the PayPal accounts into traditional banks, which then get flipped over into money markets, and people are earning yields anywhere between 4.5 and on up to around 5, 7 right now on those yields. I want to jump over to another topic here, and this is just showing you the size of this account right here, of this scenario right here. So this is June 22, so almost a year ago, 429 million active accounts. So I'm going to guess that's based on the growth they had right there, a small percentage. Let's say they're somewhere in the 430 to say 450 million active accounts. That's a significant amount of users. The other thing is that's a significant amount of users on the ETH ecosystem. So this may have a very interesting effect on the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. And I think this also starts to put a huge, kind of gauntlet down of putting ETH as the payment architecture in terms of how crypto is going to play out here. And there's some other things that I think will play out into this from a regulatory standpoint, which also will only benefit crypto as a whole. We'll get to that in a second. But if you guys are PayPal users right now, I'm just kind of curious, would you use PayPal more often than a bank? Hit the like button right now if you would. If you think you would use PayPal, especially with the use of now a stable coin versus a bank, because bank, it's very difficult. Transactions speeds are terrible. Processing, you sometimes you have to do all sorts of hoops, jump through all sorts of hoops to get things done in a banking system. I'd love to get your feedback. All right, another thing just to remember when you add in, and they had mentioned this in the article there, Venmo had over 50 million active accounts in 2019, significantly increased in 2023 to 78 million. So they could be somewhere around 80 million right now in existence or in addition to that, let's say 450 million. A lot of those will be crossover accounts, though. Some people have both. But there's probably some people that don't have. So let's say they're close to 500 million. That's a 500 million people utilizing an ERC path. This could be significant for Ethereum. As I said, there's just so much here. Now, when you look at what's happening in general, just as I want to go to this tweet right here. Stablecoin transfers obviously growing with more than 2 trillion in transactions just in Q1 of 2023. Context, that's more than PayPal processed in all of 22. So you already see the massive growth here and the opportunity. And you're also looking at really two behemoths. Obviously, USDC plays a big role here in the United States. Tether, obviously the global stablecoin. Now PayPal, of course, being used around the planet. Could they rival something between the two above USDC and actually go in and rival what's happening with Tether? I don't know. I'm kind of curious how this would get going. Just to give you an example of some of this move that we're already seeing in terms of interest rate. This is really why I think we'll continue to see these kinds of scenarios playing out. And stablecoins, I think, are going to become even more and more prevalent because of the interest rates that are being paid and yields on these accounts. And again, you've got all these different platforms, whether it's Robinhood, Coinbase, and many others that are starting to really accelerate competition for that debanking, which is people moving cash out of banks and into these other methods, especially if stablecoins start to gain yields. That'll be a big, big player. Because, man, I'm telling you, this is going to, and plus you've got the functionality of the PayPal ecosystem to be able to send money and do it in a very unique way. In fact, the way they're going to do it is done through this technology that is a small company called Magic. We've talked about them before. This was the breakdown. PayPal Ventures leads a 52 million funding round for Magic. And this is a non-custodial wallet as a service provider. All Web3 onboarding. And basically what it does is it just makes it easy for sending money in such a simple way that onboarding through fiat or other methods are just so simple, much like when you first used PayPal for the very first time, you were using links and you were probably fascinated with that capability. Same kind of thing is going to be happening with Magic. And I think when you look at just what they've been able to do, this is kind of their plug and play widget. So it's out of the box UI. Very sexy. You can kind of see a little bit about what they're doing there in terms of the process and the ease of use. That's the key here. Ease of use. And we've talked about this many times. Whoever comes up with the solution that makes it easy for normal people who have never had a wallet in their life and don't understand MetaMask, don't understand what a seed phrase is, and definitely do not understand how to even utilize a stablecoin. This, I think, is a big gateway, entry gateway for those masses. And when you see that kind of leap forward, not only in technology, but also in adoption with a major company like PayPal, this is big business. I'm just kind of curious how fast we will see Chase and many of the major banks come behind this. They have to be thinking that they're going to do this. I can't imagine it not being the case. Not to forget, we reported not too long ago, this was Magic, of course, doing some cool stuff with 7-Eleven. This again goes back to what I think is going to be the future of loyalty, especially around Web3. And they launched this. You could mint and mix it, a digital collectible. This was on Polygon. But the cool thing was they were utilizing the technology for easy access and easy onboarding. That's, again, gets back into the scenario of when we talk about loyalty systems of all sorts of retailers out there, whether it's Nike, you look at what's happening with McDonald's and obviously also with Starbucks, but many more. This is going to go into every retail fabric imaginable, and the opportunity is real. So again, another big advantage for this. All right, so one thing to be aware of is just the amount of adoption that's happening at the corporate level. More than half of Fortune 100 now are developing on initiatives to stay competitive. If you kind of look at the breakdown here, you can kind of see the publicly launched right there, almost 70% right here. And this is Q2 of 23. So big, significant launch here. Also back here as well. Then you can kind of see a little bit about where all this ideation stage was happening back in 2021 and 2020. Now we're starting to see a lot more blue, dark blue. So this too will only accelerate adoption, and it will only accelerate the number of companies that are going to start to look at ways to accept PayPal, because almost every retailer out there today is accepting PayPal. And the likelihood of them, companies like Shop and others that are starting to integrate payments and make it almost just so seamless that you don't even have to use a bank account, which is really cool. And you don't have to use your credit cards, those kind of things that can get into all sorts of problems around just credit card theft, ID theft, all those kind of things really start to get circumvented with things like this. Further into this that I thought was kind of cool, TinyTap, this is the first publishers NFTs. They sold out, generating almost 138 ETH, which was about $228,000. This was 6 teachers that launched on this. And the reason that this is important, I'm going to highlight this real quick. Let me zoom out on that for you guys. These were teachers that were basically launching, think of it like a small course, and then selling these courses and utilize them as NFTs. Cool thing is they can utilize payment services like a PayPal, or in this particular case, a stablecoin. Obviously, all of this getting ready to roll out in terms of opportunity for a lot of creators, because that's really what it boils down to, is how do you get with a lot of these new creators kind of moving into the next level, and this is a good example of one. All right, so not everything's great with PayPal. Obviously, our Q2 earnings are disappointing a little bit, so maybe some AI starts to move in this direction. But good thing is that I think this starts to set up a roadmap for growth. I want to go to a clip of Cathie Wood talking about why she was shifting out of PayPal and into Block, and we'll kind of explain this here in a second, but this will make sense. Listen in.
I think the way Cash App is growing organically, as opposed to more of a top-down, let's get this thing moving, stretch, stretch, stretch. I think there's an organic movement. I think it's going to be is going to be fired up now by Bitcoin.
And the idea that people just want to sign up versus PayPal having the initiative of saying, you know what, we've got to go and launch this app to really compete with Cash App. She described it as Venmo following Cash App. So they said, it could be one of many winners, but they have a lot more conviction when it comes to what Block is doing with Cash App, and especially when it comes to Bitcoin.
I mean, look, if she's selling it, she's kind of saying it's over. For one of the biggest believers in these stocks and these stories and in this sector, that's got to be a tough one to swallow for Venmo and for PayPal.
I think that was maybe a wake-up call for PayPal, because Cathie is she's a good student of what's happening in the market. She gets it. Of course, her movement with Block maybe now is being questioned just because of the involvement with Bitcoin. But I think they got it under a little bit of their skin and said, let's go out here and do something crazy and really start to develop. The other thing that you look at is Jack Dorsey. He's raising 2023 earnings outlook after their Q2 beats. So that's pretty good in itself. But at the same time, there's still a lot of challenges that have already been showcased. And we kind of talked about Jack's tweet over to Brian Armstrong saying, hey, you should be using Bitcoin more, etc. All right, so I'm going to run to a clip now and take a little bit more about what's happening when you think about the future. And this is the CEO of PayPal 1 year ago. Take a listen.
Because we didn't move into the crypto environment because we felt like Bitcoin was going to move from 10,000 to 30,000 or 30,000 to 50,000. That's not what our underlying goal is, to to ride that asset class, up or down in terms of trading. It's really to take what are the fundamental benefits of cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, and how do they take payments to a next generation?
All right, so the good thing is he is looking at the core basis of what maybe the future of crypto is, or certain aspects of crypto, and that is payment and versus investment. And again, don't get me wrong, crypto as an investment and the speculation, that's really, I think, where a lot of growth is going to happen. But payment is going to be the underlying architecture of the monetary system, especially when you look at things like stablecoins. So all of this, I think, goes in the right direction for what's happening out there. Now the question is Bitcoin going in the right direction for payment? All right, so I want to jump to a tweet here by Udi. If you guys don't know, this is one of the guys behind, of course, what's happening in the ordinal space. And his statement here is 18 months after you still can't pay with Bitcoin Lightning at any of these Square millions of sales terminal. Now remember, Square, if you aren't aware, is a huge point of sale system for almost all of retail. It's matter of fact, I think it's one of the best point of sale systems. And this company is run by Jack Dorsey. And with Jack having so much conviction around Bitcoin, you would think that we would have a lot faster and more efficient capabilities of paying with Bitcoin, putting it at least on the Lightning Network and being able to truly implement that. So I'm wondering, is there something else going on here? And of course, this is something that we've seen, talked about. You've heard some of the interviews that we had with Cathie Wood and Jack Mallers last week when we showcased her and Jack Mallers of Strike, which is the company that's behind what's happening in El Salvador. But here's David Marcus. Let me go to his tweet right here. Now, David Marcus runs a company called LightSpark. Now, LightSpark is basically trying to build on Lightning. And one of the few statements here caused me to pause. And hear me out here, because this, I think, is a big deal, because if there is a fight for payment between Bitcoin Lightning and Ethereum, it is apparent that Ethereum may end up winning this battle, especially if you look at what's happening with PayPal. So I always tend to push hard on avoiding a continue on current glide path because of sunk costs. This fact that he's got a lot invested in this to do this. What's going to make Lightning do what it needs to do, become the standard of universal protocol for payments on the internet, the more we realize how hard it will be. This is a problem. Did we make the right technology decision? It's so incredibly complex and hard to build software around this protocol. Constraints are what they are. This worries me, because this tells me some of the best minds, and this is not a Web 2 or Web 3 guy. This is a Web 2 guy that's building in the Web 3 space. So he understands the pitfalls that are out there on both sides, and he also understands that the competition is coming, meaning that Web 2.5 may be taking over very quickly, other than what we've seen here in native apps on Web 3 kind of going in this direction. So kind of curious as to how this direction is going to go. Just so we're aware, this, of course, is what's happening on Ethereum. You're looking at the total value bridge right now. Obviously, significant moves right here with what's happening on Ethereum as a whole. And when you look at some of the other data that's kind of coming in here, I just want to show you guys a couple of, this is the number of users that are also bridging. And you'll notice here, Base, this is what launched here recently. And look at the blue section right here. I'm going to pause there for a second so you can guys see that. That's 89,739 right now. This, again, has just started. So when you look at this overall, and of course, you've got zk, you've got Polygon in here, Optimism in there, etc. But the point is that these layer 2s are really starting to move in a very unique direction in terms of how all these transactions are going out there. Simply meaning that there's a lot of people starting to move in the direction of Ethereum. And with what's happening with PayPal and what's happening with Web 2.5, and where we may be going to Web 3, in other words, all these different applications, all these companies, remember we showcased a lot of companies that are starting to build on the blockchain. This is a good sign. Just to give you guys kind of an example, here's the transaction share, 7-day moving average right now on Base right there. Again, look at that. Big growth right there. And then obviously the gas fees also growing in there. And these are kind of interesting because you can kind of see it right here. Let me just kind of zoom up a little bit here. These are the transactions that are addressed just in the 7-day moving average. Look at the base coming off the floor right there. Just absolute. So this, again, Another big advantage, if you haven't listened or watched our videos on Base, this is Coinbase's platform for kind of the next evolution of Ethereum, take a look at some of that because there's a ton of projects. And we also break this down also on the Diamond Circle podcast that Kyle does, where we dive in a little deeper on some of these projects. Most likely there's going to be a lot of meme coins and other tokens running on Base that will also be an opportunity for you guys if you are interested in speculating. So definitely a lot of things happening for sure. Don't forget about Avalanche though. Avalanche also growing dramatically here in terms of active users and new users. Look at the new users spiking right here. This of course is just May to July in this period of time. So this is another one that we really like. It's all in our CPI as well, Avalanche. We've also had the Avalanche team on our show many times. But I really like that. But it goes back to the core of what Avalanche does. And they are one of those projects that is trying to bridge 2 to 3, meaning everything we understand about the web, everything we understand about the internet, everything we understand about payments and value, all of that is happening and living in Web 2.0 today. What you use right now, what you're using to watch this show. Avalanche is looking at a way to create a gateway for that into Web 3. So again, another company that's kind of going in the right direction. This, of course, is just showing you guys some movement here on Polygon, also going up. That's another layer 2, as you can see. Good data here. And then, of course, Ethereum right here. Just the gas being spent on the L2s on Ethereum, which, again, shows more activity on those L2s. Remember, L2s, layer 2s, main thing here that they're trying to solve for Ethereum is transactions, okay? Speed, transaction volume, and scale. All of that needs to happen for Ethereum, and it appears that it is happening. So the question will be, how do stablecoins play into this? Nansen broke this down a little bit just to give you an example also on ETH deposits versus withdrawals, also starting to, and really kind of holding, but the key here is the trend line still continuing to climb right now on staked ETH. So good stuff there. All this really points in the right direction, and that is Ethereum going to be the new global plan for payment? And if that is going to be the case, then you're going to have a ton of these layer 2s that are absolutely going to go, I think, off the hook. It's just a matter of time. And also seeing the ones that are aligned with the right kind of projects, because obviously projects are the ones that will help drive that to the next level. All right, so what you see here is just the market cap of the stablecoin markets. You can kind of see in the green right there is USDC. The blue, of course, is Tether. But imagine if we start to see movement here from PayPal. With 500 million users, this could rival maybe some of the best stablecoins out there in the market. So I don't know. There's a lot to be watching here right now. The reason I say that is because of the scenario that's going to play out in Capitol Hill. Here, of course, is Patrick McHenry. Clear signal on stablecoins if issued under a clear regulatory framework. Hold promise as a pillar of the 21st century of payment systems. Clear regulations and robust consumer protections are essential for enabling stablecoins to achieve their full potential. He goes on in there talking about the bipartisan clarity of payment stablecoins. Act recognizes the strong role that states have played in regulating digital asset firms, builds on successful state regimes like New York, etc. And they're trying to make all this happen. Only one problem right now, and that is that if you followed some of our regulatory videos that we did over the past couple of weeks, is there's a little bit of rub between him and Maxine Waters and also the White House, the administration. This may change now. It's very possible. Could PayPal be the one shoe to drop in DC that says, wait a minute, this is a normal lobbying of a titan in the finance services space? And is it one that starts to lead the way into traditional banks coming into this space as well? If that is the case, I don't think that we will see any kind of slowdown in terms of regulatory opportunity here. PayPal holdings right now, I don't know if this is a good time to get into their stock, but you can kind of see their 1 year, not necessarily doing that great, but they are in a position. Now, this also could be a situation where we're just dealing with a company who is trying to do everything they can to get back into positive light within the market? Or are they in a position where they could be losing a lot of steam going against some of their competition? What do they know? That is the question mark that we're going to be asking ourselves for quite some time here as all of this starts to play out in the stablecoin market. Just to look at ETH right now, You can kind of see ETH moving in and out. Holding it around 1824. Don't know where you guys are going to be entering. We're looking at somewhere around the $1,700 mark. If we see it, that'll be the question. But again, Ethereum has been one that has continued to hold, along with Bitcoin too, because obviously Bitcoin holding right still at around the 29,000 mark. But I'd love to get you guys' feedback. If you guys think that this moves Ethereum up the totem pole in terms of the core architecture for payment, what does that do to the token? And what does it do to the projects that are surrounding it? Love to get your feedback. Drop some notes down below. Always like to see that in our videos. And of course, it's a great way for you guys to communicate with us. If you're not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's very easy and it's free. All you have to do is click the link down below. We do additional podcasts, additional research, all that good stuff for you there. And if you want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.